Thanks, Dave. Obviously, state the obvious here, the environment, the atmosphere, fans were terrific. I think how we played, other than maybe the first 5-7 minutes of the second half, is how we kind of envision what this team can be. I think we've gotten better as the season has started here. And obviously, defensively for the most part, pretty good job. Obviously, Klesman got us going in the first half, and like I said, other than that little stretch where I thought we went away from throwing it inside and got stagnant offensively, which allowed them to get out and run a little bit and get some rhythm offensively. You knew they would probably make a run. Too good of a team not to, and we opened the door enough for them to do that. So, but I'm happy with how we responded, and we're able to regain control of the game and finish it off. So, again, another. I think these type of games are great for the state. The game of basketball in the state doesn't get enough attention, I think, and enough credit for how good the state is, all the way down to the grassroots level. And it's for 2.5 hours today, we were able to put the state of Wisconsin front and center. And I think obviously we played well against a really good team. And happy for our guys. Questions?
Jeff? You can look at a lot of numbers from this game, including Max's hot start, but how important in your estimation were two stats, second chance points, and the ability to not only get to the line, but make the majority of them?
Yeah, I think that's, Max makes all of our threes in the first half. We don't make a three in the second half. And I think this group has found, the offensive rebounding, whether it's Tyler, Steve, Gilly, AJ, John Blackwell. They've been opportunistic and they've been more aggressive at going. Even Marcus picked up a foul trying to get one in the first half. So, those are second chance opportunities. Stating the obvious there, but anytime you can make those hustle plays to loose balls, get extra possessions, and then you mentioned getting to the line. I thought we got there, did a good job in the first half. Second half, we needed to be there more, but that was go back to that first 6-7 minutes that I talked about, where you're not going to get fouled when the ball doesn't get inside the three-point line. So, but able to get to that bonus and be at the free throw line down the stretch was important.
Greg, do you think this stretch, including Fort Myers, has shown you what this team is capable of? Obviously, there's a lot more season to go, but
right.
And what do you think has stood out about why this team can be successful?
We've gotten better defensively. If you look back at Tennessee and Providence, now I didn't think we were physically or mentally engaged in the first 35 minutes, well, 25 minutes at Providence, but we were just too loose defensively, too spread out, not physical enough, maybe didn't understand how important that was against at a high level. And I think they've also, I've talked to this group a lot about believing how good they can be. And I think sometimes I intentionally need to feed that because they hear so much negative from the outside that I got to counter the negative with a lot of positive. And I think now they believe. They believe in what our coaches have been talking about and kind of the vision of what we laid out way back in the summer for what we thought this team could be and how good they could be. And you still got to go do it. You got to go earn it, and you got to finish games. But I think there's on the court we're better defensively, much better than we were a month ago, and then I think there's a growing belief of how good together this group could be.
You alluded to those early second half turnovers. What did you guys do to clean that up? And I guess the second part is, does this kind of show you that, this team can win these types of games even when you're not shooting well, just with clean basketball?
Yeah, when you take care of the ball, they don't get fast break opportunities, and we can set our defense. So, whether it was in a ball screen early that I thought Chucky should have just drug it across and started our action, or Max, got a little wound up with the ball a couple times. But yeah, just settling down, making good decisions, and part of that comes with running better offense, putting more pressure on the rim. That relieves some of that perimeter pressure when they've got to help and double the post, and we can get them caught in rotations, which we did later as we started to touch the post and play inside out, and AJ's able to get to the drive closeouts and those type of things. So it's a combination. It's all related to each other. But yeah, you have to take care of the ball. It's very basic basketball if you want to play at a high level and have success.
Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, Greg, you touched on just being happy with or proud of how the team responded. Just what did kind of stand out initially within that response right after Marquette's run, and how did the late play of Crowell or Chucky, whether it's on the glass, passing defense from Chucky, just kind of show some of the veteran nature that can be shown from this team?
Yeah, I think I intentionally rode our vets down the stretch the last 8-10 minutes. I don't know if I subbed very little with John or AJ once in a while, just and Gilly for Steve, but yeah, I think they took ownership in those huddles. Whether it was the timeout that I called or the media timeouts, as obviously we knew it was going to be a 40-minute. We can't just play 20 minutes, and let's get back to doing what we do really well and what makes us good. So I think after we kind of caught ourselves there, and I can talk about it in the timeout, and I can talk about it in the huddles, but they have to go. That's part of that earn and finish. They have to go produce. Because I've told them several times, I can't talk your way into. I can't talk you into being a good team. You got to believe it and go do it. And when adversity comes, you got to go back and attack it. And we didn't get that deer in the headlight look. I thought we responded, and part of that was I think the older guys in the huddle, Tyler, Max, Chucky, were pretty vocal and got after some guys about how we needed to play, and they responded.
You got two up front and one in the back. Go ahead.
Marquette's a team that's been winning big, even though their rebounding hasn't been particularly good. Just how much did you you're dominated the boards all day. How much was that an emphasis going into this game as something maybe you could exploit?
I don't think it's opponent specific. I mean, if we can be aggressive going to the glass, we've got better doing that. I think we picked our times to do it. I think we're getting, obviously Steve and Tyler have done a really good job, but I think we're getting some thrust on that end too from AJ, just to keep balls alive. John Blackwell, just hustle plays. Gilmore gives us some of that. So that's not necessarily an opponent specific thing. It's something, if we have opportunities, we want guys to be aggressive and attack the glass. But at the same time, we talk about don't chase rabbits. That's one of our little sayings. Meaning we aren't going to chase it erroneously to somewhere where we end up giving up things in transition. So just being smart, and I think our guys have gotten wiser about when to and when not to. And obviously you can do that when you're better in transition defensively. Then you can turn your 4s and 5s, and sometimes your 3s loose to the glass, and they've been hungry. That's one thing about rebounding. You can drill it, but it's still a desire and having a nose to go get the ball.
Jim?
Greg, Max plays with such an edge. Does he? Shaka brought up Brad Davidson as a comparison. Do you think that's a fair one? And what does that do for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, he brings in an emotional charge to him. I think we've had several guys that have done that over the. You think back to. Gosser was kind of like that, maybe not as vocal. Showalter was that, but more vocal. Obviously Brad and what he did. But yeah, I mean, I think Max, I've always felt that Max down the stretch last year got more comfortable in his game at this level, and then that allowed his voice and the leadership to be exerted a little bit more. And then this year we've seen a pretty big jump in terms of, like I mentioned, in those huddles. He gets after him more than I do sometimes. So, but you got to back it up with how you play too. So he knows that because guys are held him accountable. That's mark of a good team, when the best coach teams are player coach teams, when they can get after each other and hold themselves accountable and take the constructive criticism when they get it from teammates and respond. That's mark of a good team.
In the back, Coach.
Greg, after the RMU game, you were disappointed, I guess, in the defensive performance.
Army?
RMU.
Army. Oh, Robert Morris.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compared to a couple weeks ago, how would you grade your defensive performance against a top 5 team?
We're better. I mean, we've gotten better. I'll go through and I'm sure I'll find several things on tape because I told them the other day in practice I'm a really hard grader. You probably wouldn't want me as a professor in class. It'd be hard to get an A from me. But I think we have, as I mentioned earlier, we've gotten better from, even when everybody got all excited around here, we put up 105 against Arkansas State. We still defensively, to win at a high level against really good teams, we had to take steps forward. And, it bites a little bit more when you take one on the wrong side of the column. And guys learn from that and understand. But they've bought in. They understand how important just defensive execution, even in practice, of really, our scout team does a great job and play hard. But our guys take pride in starting there. It doesn't start when you get to a game. You have to be able to defend in practice consistently, and like I said, that's where I think the growth is taking place, is on the defensive end, and it started with how they've gotten after it even more in practice. Not that they weren't, but now they understand the hows and the whys better, and I think guys have gotten better individually. AJ Storr has really improved on both ends of the floor, and there's still, I can make a list of probably 100 things that he can get better at, but I told him the other day, I pull out tape 5, 6 weeks, 8 weeks ago, to where he is now on both ends. But defensively was one I knew he has an ability when he understands how and why and how important it is. And but he's one example, just because I felt he's come so far in a short amount of time, of how he's taken coaching and learning and been like a sponge, and we hold him accountable too. He knows he has to do it. And then you see the consistent incline in his production.
Got 2 more for Coach, one in the back and right up front here.
Greg, if the math is right, it looks like from Iguodaro, Jones, and Kolick, it's hard to hold those guys combined to 35 points, but your defense did that. Again, just from the talent side of it, from your side, what does it say about holding those 3 guys down to that, and what does it do for the future?
Well, I don't know what it does for the future, because we'll worry about that when we get there. But it just shows, I think, their belief in what we're doing defensively, and how they are connected better defensively than what we were 6 weeks ago. And and taking game plans and understanding, when we're going over on screens, when we're switching, when we're going under, when we're not switching, those things they've really grasp onto that, so to speak, and taken pride in what we can be defensively. I think that, and obviously there was a trend of getting better, I thought, but obviously the first game in Fort Myers with Virginia, I think that it obviously showed me, but more importantly it showed them. And that's the thing. I can say things, our staff can say things, we can show, but they have to go do it, and then that creates a growth of belief. And that's where I think it really took hold, was in that first game in Florida.
Okay, final question right up front.
Some of those vets that you leaned on at the end of the game, they were part of some collapses last season. Between SMU and a game like today, I guess, how much better are they playing in high pressure situations like this?
Well, they're responding better. I think, and that's what we talked about, the finish, of getting to a point and then finishing. And if it's something we have to respond to, and that adversity strikes, you got to respond to it better. And you maybe won't always get the same results, but the response has been much better than where it was. And part of that's just growth and maturity. They're another year older. Everybody's back of last year's team, and next year Tyler's the only senior this year. So it's just, sometimes you got to go through those rough times to grow and get bopped around a little bit and figure some things out. Doesn't always happen overnight. I think what we're seeing is a result of what we went through last year and the growth that is starting to take place. We got to keep pushing though. We're not where we need to be and can be. I think this team has a chance to be really good consistently at a high level, and we got to keep pushing the bar. That's what they do every day in that locker room and on our practice court. That's where it starts.